Right, time to jump on into the magical system of the pack, right? So, this is a spell altar, and has quite the hefty requirement, right? A few enchanting tables, an end crystal, and some crying obsidian. So, the spell system is quite complex, right? If we take a look at the advancements quickly, it covers a lot of things, right? So we have, first off, crafting our spell books, and then we have different ways to actually customize the spell books. So definitely a lot to go over, right? But we'll try to roll through the feature nice and quickly. So we have a few options to go through, right? And so first off, you can use several different enchanting books as the basis of the spell tome, right? So out of the 7 here, they'll each create a different casting type. So for instance, if you were to use Quick Charge, you'll get a fast, short-range projectile on your spellbook. Then we also have a material to use, catalyst item, right? An ally membrane, a vex membrane, which are unique drops from the corresponding mob, right? And then an ancient eye, which you'll find occasionally out in the world. So depending on which of these you use, you'll get a different type of spellbook, right? Malevolent, rejuvenating and amplifying, right? So a healing or beneficial tome, a more attack-oriented tome, or a utility style tome, and they each have some special abilities and passive effects depending on that type. Then we also have 12 different hearts to choose from, and this is the element type of the book. So for instance, if you use Ancient, you'll get an Ancient tome. If you use Glacial, you'll get a Glacial tome. So again, 7 by 3 by 12. So that's already kickstarting the crafting, right? We'll try to show off all of them, I think, but we'll start off with Quick Charge. We'll go with an Ancient Eye, and for the heart, we'll just do Fire, right? So Nether, and then we also need some infused paper. So these 4 items, all you need to craft a beginner tome. So just come over to the little spell altar. Now the first heart you drop onto it will attune the spell altar. So we get a little particle effect, and then the altar will be attuned to the spell type, right? So Nether in this case, after which we can drop down the book, the Ancient Eye, the heart, and the paper, and hopefully altogether we get ourselves a spell tome. So, the spell tome we created is a Malevolent spell tome, again because we use the Ancient Eye. Then it has cast spells weaker but quicker because we use the Quick Charge book. And then it has Nether Affinity because we use the Nether Heart. Now, to actually cast and utilize the tomes, all you need is Lapis. Lapis is the resource, right? So as soon as we have Lapis, if we hover over the spellbook, you can notice down there in the left-hand corner, we now have an icon corresponding to the Ancient Tome. So, if we hold down left-click, it will use the Quick Cast, right? And the Quick Cast for the Malevolent Tome is actually a way to speed up casting. So as you can see there, the bar on the icon actually fills every time we left-click. Now, if we right-click, we will get a charge cast, right? So every time we right-click, it's using some Lapis, and it's shooting our projectile. So if we go ahead, spawn in, we'll just use villagers as guinea pigs, why not, right? So we have a villager, and we cast at him. And there you go. He gets some fire, takes some damage, and also, in terms of the passive stats, casting spells is how you will end up increasing your intellect. So every time you cast a spell, or after a few casts, you will get a slight boost to your intellect stat. So, that is the basis of the tome. Now, let me craft the different types, and we'll go over the different casting, right? So again, Curse of Binding, Loyalty, Channeling, Quick Charge, Sweeping Edge, Riptide, Quick Charge. Why do I have 2 Quick Charge? Ooh, I may have to recount. And Impaling. And this should be Lucky Last. Once it crafts. Now it's also worth noting that it does require experience. Did I drop everything? I did, there we go. It does take a little to register all the items. But there we go. We have a spell tome for each of the different enchanting books, all lined up so we can see what they directly relate to. And I used a different heart each time so we can take a look at that too. But for Curse of Binding, we get cast spells on a nearby target. For Loyalty, we get cast spells on ourselves. For Channeling, cast spells stronger but slower. Quick Charge, again, spells are weaker but quicker. So basically the difference between these two is one will take a lot longer to cast but do more damage, and then the other will be quicker to cast but do less damage. Then we have Riptide, which is cast spells around you, Impaling for cast spells in an arc, and Sweeping Edge for cast spells in a cone. So if we actually grab all the books, we can look through them and see exactly what they do, right? How it actually looks to cast with them. So up first was on a nearby target. Now, I think I have this set tile style, but we'll see. So if we hold it down, it does take a while to cast, but there we go. It does a direct shot on whatever is closest to you, right? So very pinpoint, but if the entity is moving or anything like that, it will miss. But it also does have a heavy cost to it, right? So it's slow to cast, and it's also using a sizable amount of Lapis because of its effect. Then we have cast spells on ourselves, right? Which if we hold this down, slightly quicker to cast, and it will cast directly at our location. Although it seems like one of them is slightly off. Yeah, one of them is going way too far. Right, so this should trigger on us whatever the effect should be. If we cast near someone, it should cross over. Yeah, there we go. I feel like the hit detection is slightly off for us. Then we have cast spells stronger but slower. Right, so we hold it down, very slow to cast, but it shoots a whole array of spells. Then we have weaker, right, so again, quickest to cast, just a nice long-range projectile. Then all around us. Right, so a nice little AoE effect. Bam. Then we have cast spells in the arc, so this should go quite far. Oh, and I'm out of lapis. There we go. Should have extra in my inventory. Alright, and this should go the furthest, right? So a very long-range shot. And then lastly, cast spells... Ooh, did I double up? No, cone. There we go. Which should be short range again, but a little bit wider. So that is pretty much the basis of the spell crafting system, right? So now we have our spell books. Now, one thing to note is, again, with the bar on the little left here, right? So again, it's left click to use that, in which case it actually does damage to us. So think of this as, sort of like blood magic, where it's taking part of our life to actually allow us to cast. So you can spam this, take some damage, and then cast a whole bunch, right? And in terms of that little charge bar, ooh, here's what's making it say hi. I probably left a stray command block somewhere. But in relation to the little bar on that left-hand side there, that is to do with quick casting. So you can actually add different quick cast effects to the spellbooks, but we will basically show off the other two spellbooks since they already have a functionally different set of quick cast abilities. We'll go back into creative, which was probably easier to get lapis, and we'll grab out the Phantom Membrane and the Vex Membrane, right? Put that back there for now. We will just go with, it doesn't really matter for what we're showing off, we'll just go with quick charge, so grab two of them, and then we also need some paper again, and then a heart, right? So we'll go Ancient and Celestial, I think they're the ones we haven't shown off. So again, just drop everything into the center. Ooh, if it drops into the center. Well, first we actually have to attune the altar. So there's Ancient, and there's Celestial, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they'll create the first spell tome, and it'll look slightly different, right, because we're using the Vex Membrane instead, and hopefully it does craft. There we go, perfect. Ooh. And then lucky last, the Ally, oh, and I accidentally crafted Ancient again. Oh well. Right, so we have a grayish tome for the Vex Membrane and a bluish tome, right? So rejuvenating and amplifying. Now the quick cast on this will actually use the bar, so again, left click for the quick cast. So you see the bar gets grayed out, and we actually get regeneration and health boost, hence rejuvenating spell tome. And then for the actual amplifying tome, we do have to wait for that little bar to charge back. You can't, there's no way to cheese it. You can't just re-equip a different tome. You have to wait. If we use this one, we get a whole bunch of buffs, right? So amplifying and rejuvenating. And they do have some other passive effects that I won't go into too much detail on just yet, but there are other ways to then enhance them further using two different systems. So we have a charm system, right? And I should have all the materials in one of these chests, and we'll just move them aside. Yeah, so we have charms, and then we also have the Enchanter's Crystals. So the Enchanter's Crystals will allow you to basically add different quick casts, and then the charm system will allow you to add different spells to it. And they're all listed here, right? So they have a little indicator. So cast speed, major increase, cast cost +2, and then, causes a spell to inflict minor damage but speeds up casting, right? So there are quite a few. I think we'll leave it there, though, for today, right? Just go over the basis, and then we'll do a little episode on the charms, and then probably a little episode on the enchanting, which we can tie into some of the other systems as well. We sort of have to go over affinity weapons first, and then we can jump into the crystal enchants, because there are quite a few of them, right? And they come in 4 different varieties. So even though this says Barrier, Siphon, Seeker, Reckless, there is a whole range of them, right? And it's just the different tiers. But I think they'll do. So, hope you enjoyed. Yeah.